So the areas that we're going to cover in this video today will be cutting down the fabric, which we will use the chair to do this. We will lay the fabric on face up. We will go ahead and show you how to make a continuous welt cord with a different method than probably most of you are familiar. I'm going to show you a unique stitch in the ditch method of assembly where we actually stitch the fabric from the front and then we will turn it and flip it to the other side and do a reinforcement stitch. We're going to cover some of the difficult areas of slip covering that a lot of people ask about, and that would be the crotch area and the tuck-in area. We will also do skirts. We're only going to do one skirt for this particular chair. And then we will go ahead and make those arm protectors. People with children and animals and husbands, they do need arm protectors to keep their slipcover clean. Let's take a look at this chair. This is a club chair with attached back cushion and one seat cushion. When we picked the chair up at the customer's home, it was falling off of the back, so I asked the customer if it was okay for me to just simply remove the cushion, and so we cut it off and we removed it. After we removed it, there was a big hole back here. So what we needed to do was we needed to fill it in with some batting, quilt batting, and then we also added a dacron batting on the back, which we whip stitched in place. And so this will fill out the back of the club chair. I also discussed with the customer the style of skirt that she wants, and the skirt that we're going to do will be a waterfall skirt. Basically, it will drop from underneath the cushion at the deck of the chair, and it will go down to the floor. We've chose this type of skirt simply because she wants to launder her slipcover, and it will be an easier type of skirt to dry after she launders it. So let's get started cutting the fabric for our chair. Let's go ahead and roll out the fabric onto the chair. And if you notice, we're not making a pattern. We're just going to go ahead and pin it to the chair, and this is going to begin our pattern. So what I'm doing first of all is I'm just anchoring it in place. And we've determined what's the upside of the pattern, so if you have a stripe or a pattern, you need to double check it. In the case of this fabric, there is no pattern. And then I'm going to go down and even it up and anchor it down here at the bottom to get it nice and square before I cut it off. One of the things that will save you time in making a slipcover is if you don't always cut your fabric, but if you'll go ahead and rip it. The ripping speeds up the process, plus it also helps you to determine if the fabric is straight on the grain. So the very first rip here will help you to determine that. So if you have stripes and it isn't straight on the grain, you're going to know that right away when you do your first rip. So we're going to go ahead and block out this piece, and we're going to cut it up. All right, and that's the back of our slipcover. The next part we're going to do is the inside back and the deck of the chair. So let's go ahead and pull this fabric up. I folded it in so it will move up easily. It's still on the roll. Now what you want to make sure is that you have enough fabric to go around both sides, which we do, and if you're matching a pattern like a stripe or something, this is your opportunity to see that you're cutting it so it will match, and we're going to just anchor it in place. By the way, I am using 1 3/4 inch T-pins. Then what we also need to do is to make sure we've allowed enough fabric between the deck and the inside back to tuck in. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And I'm going to allow about 3 inches of extra fabric on both sides, would be the deck and the inside back, and that would be about 6 inches extra. So I just pull that up to be about that. Now we're going to go ahead and cut off the fabric. And remember, I told you that the customer wanted a waterfall skirt going down. So we're going to go ahead and cut the fabric just a little bit longer below the deck, but to give us more than enough. We're going to go ahead, we'll cut it there. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this across, and then I'm going to rip it the rest of the way. We're just going to leave this. We're not going to cut it to size yet. We'll come back and do that when we're putting our slipcover together. Next, we're going to do the outside arm. So all we do is we pull our fabric up and we anchor it on the side of the arms. And again, all we're doing is blocking out our pieces of fabric. And we will need to cut 2 of these. And because these are just block pieces, once you get the one side, you can basically cut a block for the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this in underneath the arm so I know how long I need to cut it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and clip it and then rip it across, but giving myself extra in the length. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the other side exactly the same. All right, next we're going to do the inside arms. That's going to consist of this area and a little bit extra fabric for the tuck-in. Usually I use my hand to measure, and that's about 3 to 4 inches. I'm going to go ahead and lay this on like this. And put it across like that. Again, I have a whole lot of extra fabric I'm not going to cut off right now. All I'm doing is blocking out my pieces. Here's where my other piece stopped. I'm going to have it lap over just a little bit before I rip it. I'm going to clip it and rip it. And then I have my piece for my inside arm, and I'll cut another one just like this for the other side. Now we have the front of the arms, and we need to cut block pieces for that. But we have a lot of extra fabric here that we haven't cut off, so let's go ahead and cut off our extra piece for the inside arm. So what we're going to do to use in the front of that arm is we're going to cut off this extra portion of the inside arm. But to determine how long that's going to be, we need to pull it back. And here's this here. It needs to wrap around the corner. And we're going to go ahead and just make a cut. And this piece will fit right here in the front of the arm. We will do the exact same thing on the other side. All we have left to cut now is our panels for our skirt, and this is basically going to be a waterfall skirt from the deck down to the floor. And how I measure, I don't get a tape measure or anything. I just simply put my fabric up there, allow for a 1/2 inch extra down to the length I want, and then about 2 more extra inches. And I'm going to cut 4 of these because there's 4 sides to the chair. Now we have all of our pieces cut for our chair, except for one thing. We need to make